The nation's top Marine Corps commander told American soldiers stationed in Europe that there's a war coming and that a big-ass fight was on the horizon, it was reported on Saturday. General Robert Neller, the Marine Corps commandant, made the remarks during a holiday visit with U.S. troops stationed in Norway this week. The remarks were first reported by Military.com. "I hope I'm wrong, but there's a war coming," Neller said. "You are in a fight here, an informational fight, a political fight, by your presence." The Marine Corps commandant was speaking to the troops about the importance of readiness even during peacetime missions that can change depending on the circumstances. Neller was speaking to a 300-member contingent of U.S. troops stationed at the Norwegian Home Guard base near Trondheim. He told the soldiers that American military planners were focused on Russia and the Pacific as possible future flashpoints of conflict. Neller made the remarks while fielding questions from troops in a town hall-style forum. "I think probably the intended focus is not on the Middle East," Neller said. "The focus is more on the Pacific and Russia." Neller said that while America wants to look beyond Iraq and Afghanistan, it cannot always dictate events. "The problem is, we may not be interested in the Middle East, but they seem to be fascinated with us," he said. "And as long as there are groups there that threaten the United States, there will have to be some presence." President Donald Trump's administration said on Monday that Russia interferes in the domestic political affairs of countries globally, but stopped short of accusing Moscow of meddling in the 2016 U.S. election. The criticism of Russia, laid out in a new national security strategy based on Trump's America First vision, reflects a view long held by U.S. diplomats that Russia actively undermines American interests at home and abroad, despite Trump's own bid for warmer ties with President Vladimir Putin. Through modernized forms of subversive tactics, Russia interferes in the domestic political affairs of countries around the world, said the document. It avoided directly citing what U.S. intelligence agencies say was Russian meddling in last year's U.S. presidential election. Russia uses information operations as part of its offensive cyber efforts to influence public opinion across the globe. Its influence campaigns blend covert intelligence operations and false online personas with state-funded media, third-party intermediaries, and paid social media users or trolls, the document said. Trump has frequently spoken of wanting to improve relations with Putin, even though Russia has frustrated U.S. policy in Syria and Ukraine and done little to help Washington in its standoff with North Korea. Neller's remarks were reported at around the same time that Defense Secretary James Mattis made a similar assessment about the potential for future conflict. Mattis on Friday told U.S. soldiers in Fort Bragg, North Carolina that storm clouds are gathering over the Korean peninsula. Without forecasting a conflict, Mattis emphasized that diplomacy stands the best chance of preventing a war if America's words are backed up by strong and prepared armed forces. "My fine young soldiers, the only way our diplomats can speak with authority and be believed is if you're ready to go," Mattis told several dozen soldiers and airmen at the 82nd Airborne Division's Hall of Heroes, his last stop on a two-day pre-holiday tour of bases to greet troops. Mattis' comments came as the UN Security Council unanimously approved tough new sanctions against North Korea, compelling nations to sharply reduce their sales of oil to the reclusive country and send home all North Korean expatriate workers within 2 years. Such workers are seen as a key source of revenue for North Korean leader Kim Jong-un's cash-strapped government. Trump and other top U.S. officials have made repeated threats about U.S. military action. Some officials have described the messaging as twofold in purpose: to pressure North Korea to enter into negotiations on getting rid of its nuclear arsenal, and to motivate key regional powers China and Russia to put more pressure on Pyongyang so a war is averted. For the military